Trying to decide if you need a cover stitch machine? Let's learn about it.
Fantasia, and welcome to my channel, Sewing with Tay. If you're new here, thank you very much for stopping by. The type of videos that I make on my channel are sewing education, sewing machines, sewing tutorials, sew alongs, also a little bit of lifestyle, and tips, not tips, but running a small business videos about that. So, thank you again for stopping by, and let's get into today's video. Today's video, we are talking about the Brother Cover Stitch machine, what it does, how to set it up, and why it does it. So, let's get into it. Setting up your cover stitch machine, if you do have a serger or if you've ever used a serger, is kind of similar, but this machine only has one thread that goes through the bottom of the machine, and I'll show you that. So you have the lower looper, which makes the chains and the loops on the bottom, and then you have the option for your 3 threads on top that are for your 1, 2, or 3 needles. I typically do a 2 needle cover stitch, but that's my business. So we'll get into parts of the machine and how to thread it. Here is my Brother cover stitch machine. I currently only have 2 needles in there, as you can see. I always keep a piece of scrap uh, fabric kind of attached to the machine because it makes it easier, in my opinion, to get your new projects on or take them off. But here I'm just going to unthread it. And I feel like unthreading can be a little bit difficult because you gotta have to walk this out to the edge and then kind of pull the wheel, turn your wheel, always turn it towards you to get the threads out, and then you can clip them and pull them out like you would any other machine. Halfway through this process, I realized I probably should have used a different color thread because I feel like this gold might be a little bit difficult to see, but I'm going to zoom in and have some arrows to help you figure it out. But once you get your machine completely unthreaded, to open the bottom, you just kind of pull that out to the side, just like you would any other machine. It's a little lip there at the bottom, and you just pull it to the right, and it pops open. Ta-da! When threading most multi-needle machines, you want to work from the outside in towards the needle when it comes to threading. I don't know if there's a reason for that, but that's just what I choose to do because that's what I was told to do. So you're going to start at the top thread guide. There is a little metal loop there, and you want to start by putting your thread through the metal loop. I'm going to zoom in for you so you can see this. So once you go through the hole on the bar for the thread guide, you want to go down to this first one. There's a little metal loop there, and you want to thread it back to front, and then there's a little thread guide, little clip, just like every other like Brother machine like this. And then you're going to pull your thread in between the slit for the tension down. There are directions here in the back that also tell you this. So you're going to pull your thread down. You're going to go into this lower hook down here. There's a very thin wire that you have to pull. You'll see that there. And a little loop-de-loop that you have to pull the thread through. So there is a hole down here on this bar. And you want to thread it right to left. There you go. And then there's another little hook here that's right in the center of the screen. You're going to go back and then pull it around to get it inside the hook. Next is the actual lower looper. There's a white handle there. Pull it towards you. This bar will pop out. There is a little hook there, so you're going to pop your thread in there. And then there's a hole at the top of this like arm, and you're going to thread it there, going towards the back. Once you pull that out, triple check and make sure that all of your things are threaded correctly, nothing got caught anywhere, and push that back under, and it will snap into place. And then that's it for that. We're ready to do the needles. There's nothing crazy about threading the needles. You're going to put it into your thread clip and then down between the tension disc and up and around. The only difference is that first one, you'll pull it around to the left and then it pops back over to the right. There's a little bar there for you to separate it to know when to switch it over. So it pops back over and then it goes under the thread hook there, and then you can go ahead and thread your needle. Um, I have been getting my nails done lately, so it's been a little bit harder for me to thread my needle, but I'm actually getting used to being able to do this with my nails on. I think they're going to come off soon though. So once you get your needle threaded, then we're going to move on to the other needles. For your needles, you can choose to either use that first or second placement for the cones. I choose to use the first one because I like a gap in between. I didn't want it to be so close together. So you will see there's an empty cone here in the second spot, but you can choose to put that cone or that thread in the first or second spot. So same difference, you're going to clip it into the thread guide in between the thread disc, pull it down, up and around, and this time you're going to go straight down and then into the little thread hook there that's right above the needle, and then you're going to thread your needle like normal. And this isn't like a regular sewing machine that once you get them all threaded, then you have to kind of pull the bottom thread up like a sewing machine. For this one, once you get them all kind of threaded, you want to make sure none of the threads are caught anywhere. And I usually just put my fabric under the foot and just start sewing. And typically it is fine. There's no issues. I don't know if that's the politically correct way to do it, but that's the way I do it, and it works for me. Once threaded, you will have two threads on top, and then you'll have the one that's still hanging at the bottom. So I'll turn the light on. I like to keep a scrap fabric. I told you guys that. So I just sew this whenever I need to get started. I close my bottom up. I put my material under there. You want to make sure your needles are all the way up so that they don't get caught on the fabric when you're like trying to put it under the foot. So I wish this wasn't so bright. I'm trying to figure it out. There we go. And then I just start to sew. And then I try to find an empty spot on my little scrap fabric because and there you have it. I'm gonna pull this off, check it, and make sure don't need to do anything to my tension wheels. I do like to keep them all at like a 4. And you'll see here, this looks a little tight, so I might adjust it a little bit. I think they kind of got switched around while I was setting it up. So this is why I do a test stitch, just to make sure nothing goes wrong before I start on my actual fabric. So here is the tension wheels I mentioned. I usually do all 4s or 2 4s and 2 5s. It really just depends on what type of fabric I'm using, but you can test this out before you start sewing your actual garment. That on the right is the presser foot lever. It'll raise your foot up. What I like to do is I keep this scrap fabric on the machine. I try not to take it off. I sew to the very edge, and then I get my sample, whatever it is that I'm sewing, and I line it up, find your spot here, however wide you want that to be. And then I just go right off of the scrap fabric onto my little fabric. And then as you continue to sew, they have the lines there, hem widths. And then I get to the end, I go back and grab my scrap fabric and I cut it off because it's attached by the chain. I cut it off and then I put it back at the end of whatever I'm sewing, and then continue to sew right on there, so I never really have to worry about getting it started again because sometimes it can be a little bit difficult. But yeah, that is it. That is the sewing machine. The sewing machine. That's the cover stitch machine, and it's really easy to use. Thanks so much for watching my channel and watching my tutorial on cover stitch machine. There is a tutorial out there for the serger machine, so make sure you go watch that. I'll put the link somewhere here so you can watch that as well. Follow me on my TikTok channel. It's Sewing with Tay. Oh, it's actually not Sewing with Tay. It is J Santel, the Ion program. I'll put the link in there for y'all to follow me on my TikTok channel. Also, subscribe and hit the notification bell. I'm going to try to post these videos every week. I'm going to try to be consistent in 2024. So thank y'all so much for watching, and I'll catch y'all the next time.